Hello everyone, and welcome to Prime Championship Circuit 9 quarterfinals action, where we once again look to crown the successor of Predecessor glory. I'm D'Lo, your host for today's first sets. Joined here with me are F6 and Lance. We got choice plays as the eye in the sky, and we hope you're looking forward to the sets we got cooking for you here today. Lads, how we feeling?
What's there?
I am here. I didn't hear F6 answer that at all, but I can only assume that he is radiating with positivity today, as he always is. I also feel a little radioactive with how excited I am about today's events.
Can't blame you for it, man. We got great talent. F, how about you?
Good, man. I mean, today is Saturday, another beautiful day to watch some Predecessor. And I think we just got some exciting matches today, and I can't wait to see who move on to the next day.
And talking about, let's just move on into that bracket. Just talk about what talent we got lined up. First set of this day is going to be DLAB versus MTG, but that does not mean that the rest of these series are going to be slouches by any means. Just taking a survey of the field of battle of this bracket, guys, what catches our eye? What thoughts rise to our mind?
When it comes down to it, it's going to have to come down to Docs and R&R here. R&R showcased a huge performance going through the Swiss stages, and kind of one of those teams that we didn't expect to really be a top contender, and I think they're going to be able to take it to Docs one more time again.
For me, it's all 3-day ban versus Animal Farm. Wengel and that team kind of got stepped on by Animal Farm in our Swiss. Another rematch, just like Docs versus Rest and Relaxation is. I think that 3-day ban has done a little bit of improving in this 2 weeks. I know that Animal Farm has done so as well, but expect that for being a 3-6 matchup to be a pretty competitive one, D'Lo.
This is going to be a fantastic day for Predecessor enjoyers. And yeah, Lance might be saving that best for last in terms of the set you're looking forward to, but me, I'm looking to the present. This set between DLAB and our friends on MTG Mind the Gap is going to be so interesting to set the tone kind of these quarterfinals. DLAB, of course, the incumbents of last Predecessor PCC9, but didn't quite come away with the title, now looking for some redemption here, and they've got an awfully good opponent to start it off against. But speaking of these great opponents, we have DLAB, of course, higher seeded team, the favorites in this matchup. They might have something to say for us, so let's go talk to our friends here, our Canadian lads, the Syrup Squad, and see what they got to say for us in this vid.
Might be the one who's in trouble. Glacial charges over the wall, but Appy Picker is going to get the kill onto Sneak. Stuck on an Ether Crystal. He goes in with the Inferno, but Appy Picker's down. Cure still causing problems. The reversal of fortune does not live up to the name, and Dirt Lake and the boys seem to be finding a teamfight win.
Hello everybody, my name's Toasty. I play support for DLAB.
Hey, my name is Lauber. I play offlane for DLAB.
Hey, my name is Lakenator, and I play the carry role for DLAB. I think the best way to prepare is screaming all the teams, try to get a feel for how everyone's drafting, try to understand what the strong picks are, what the meta currently is, and also how do we best utilize the draft to our advantage.
We're preparing by just screaming, making sure our wives and girlfriends are okay with us taking time off, just playing a lot of games and keeping the missus happy.
Looking to follow, and is gonna get the 1v1 outplay first blood.
Our strategy for Mind the Gap is, I think their name says it all, we're gonna mind the gap because the gap's gonna be massive between us and them.
Oh god. Show up, turn my PC on, load up Pred.
Well, I think the only strength they have is Dr. Flick, so I'll just keep them in check and should be no problem.
I appreciate all the support I think everyone's putting in, even all the teams that really want to compete and push themselves.
DLAB is taking this PCC.
I have fans? If I have fans, hello. Hey.
We're not going to make the same mistake. We don't have input on our... He can't throw the games anymore.
Nothing but good luck to all the teams out there, and of course I hope we win, right?
And to the competition, good luck everybody. Hope it's a great event. Enjoy second place, whoever we have to play against.
Some strong words here from the first seed. Just turn the PC on. That's all you need. One simple step can bring you that much closer to semifinals, or at least they so believe. Guys, our thoughts.
I mean, Toasty's one funny guy. He's always been a comedian. But, I mean, they have the right to be confident, right? They're prior champions. Mind the Gap still fighting for their right to be called the champion. I mean, they kind of have a little bit of a leeway to be this confident, but they need to also be a little bit careful going into this first matchup.
For me, I love how real it shows that the players on that team are. Lauber saying he's got to check in with the misses for when they can do scrims and stuff. Whether or not DLAB wins this PCC completely on Mrs. Lauber's back right now, it feels like to me.
Might need to ask our friends in the production booth to see if we can get stats on how many significant others our players have. I think it's going to directly correlate to how likely you are to take the L. Bro, come on. You can't be having relationships outside games. What are you doing? That's A-okay, though. Hopefully it won't punish them too hard here to actually be able to touch grass. Let's touch on to our other team here, our lower-seeded friends on the side of Mind the Gap. Can they close the gap that they say on the Canadian side is so large? Let's find out and toss to the vid.
I'm Pinzo. I play mid lane for Mind the Gap. We're getting our scrims in, getting our VOD reviews. We've obviously got a pretty tough round 1 matchup, so.
Colossal blow here. There's going to be a slight reprieve because in the mid lane, Reversal of Fortune comes down, does a fake, locks down Brandon Knight, the blink comes out, there's the Tesla Dome on the top, and Brandon Knight is cooked.
Just trying to get in the best spot that we can before the tourney.
Landing on towards Import, trying to get away. A blink from Margot Robbie to give a huge setback on towards Import, back into the mix-up.
I think we've got off lane handled, mid lane handled. I think it'll really just be like that duo lane, that 4v4 on the Fang side of the map that'll determine, how we do that pre 15 minutes. Those 4v4s is going to be the game. My competitors already know what I would say to them, so DLAB, they already know. To my fans, stay on the train, okay? PCCX, we're coming for you guys.
MTG surely clear. They didn't mention wives or girlfriends at all. I've already got my matchup locked in here, guys. All right. We got some strong words from them as well. Feeling confident, but they do put some respect on their opponent's name. Once again, guys, got to ask for your thoughts.
I mean, you heard Pinzo. No wives at home, ready to game, doesn't touch grass. And I mean, very confident in going into this. And I mean, you like to see it, both teams confident heading to this game. MTG is not a team to sleep on. I mean, they've played exceptionally well throughout those stages as well.
Yeah, listen, they took down Animal Farm in our Swiss stage. They're the 3rd seed coming into this. Could have easily been the 2nd seed, just fractions of points away from taking that away from Professors. Any of the teams that have made our top 8 can take games off each other. The thing is you're just going to have to take 2 games off of them. Did have a little bit of questions in there, saying they've already got mid taken care of and secured with Pinzo going into Appy there, and then saying they've already got offlane secured with Flick, who is the off-meta king, but he's going into PCC MVP Lauber there, so I would love to see MTG pull this out somehow, but this is going to be a tough one for them.
Confidence is a great thing to bear, but of course it can result in your own fall, so best not let that become hubris, or you might see yourself going packing early. Let's see how those stats all match up here as we go to the head-to-head, find out maybe if the promises Pinzo made can be cashed, and just taking a look at what we got here, guys. What numbers are catching our eye first?
I mean, I'm all about how the team plays well together. When I look at the stats here, their gold per minute and the overall damage and CS here, this is the stats that I really think that matter, how well they're able to control the game, not necessarily get kills, but being able to understand where their spike, where they're going to go do that. And they've just been controlling on the side of DLAB when it comes to that micro.
As somebody who failed almost every math class he ever took, these numbers
English
mean
class
absolutely
too.
nothing to Lance here. But what I do know is that these pictures mean that Mind the Gap likes banning the tanks away and getting into more like fight type situations, which might be part of the reason that their numbers for damage are low, right? They don't have a Steel or a Richter to just pump numbers into on the other side. So a little bit of a different in priority as far as drafts go is what I'm seeing right here.
And that's going to be interesting to find out if, given the fact that we're putting a lot of attention, you heard it mentioned by Pinzo himself, that duo matchup, just given the draft philosophy, once we get into that stage of this game, do we expect to see those P's and B's fall mostly onto that side of the map?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily for the most part. I still think this is very close. I mean, these numbers aren't too far away from each other. And so with the draft, I mean, that's going to come down to specific, DLAB, they like to ban certain things, but it's mostly dependent on the meta and who they match up with.
Yeah, I think that we will see a little bit of a change. It is worth mentioning, since we haven't said it yet, we did have a patch 2 days before this event.
True.
Not a massive one, but there were some shakeups. So some of the items hit, some of the tanks a little affected here. Everybody knows about Lauber and his Severog. I've played him since that patch. Doesn't really feel like he took that massive of a hit to me. I still expect him to be a pretty big prio here, but a little bit of a shakeup, and it does give some of these lower seeds a little bit of a chance to find that one specific spot in the meta that favors them and maybe pull out something that the other teams aren't ready for.
Could be nice to see, man. I always love me a good upset. So going up against the 1 seed here, hopefully MTG have brought some fire, but what they've also brought is some beef. Streets are talking here, guys, and heard that there might be a bit of Jets and Sharks action between these two teams. They've presented not just their team interview videos, we got one more on top of it. Some nice drama to build up before the actual duel, the field of battle. Let's kick it to that video next and see what these guys got to say.
If you can just play the clip of me talking to Pinzo as much as possible, that'd be just fantastic.
I heard Toasty was talking a bunch of shit. I swear to God, he left a Discord call for like 12 seconds and came back and he was like, all right, I just shit on Pinzo in my interview. I was like, okay, dude, all right.
If you just have a transition every time it cuts from like gameplay, like of us versus Pinzo into like the desk, just say, Pinzo sucks. Or, Pinzo who? Pinzo Dunzo? Oh, this is so boring. Yeah, I think those are good.
Pinzo Dunzo? Pinzo Bozo? Toasties Toasted? What's going to be the actual result? It's a very interesting dynamic. Clearly a lot of good spirits on both sides, and that's good to enter into your first game with those kind of lifted spirits. So I've got to hope that they're still feeling animated. I know for some might be kind of waking up, rubbing the sleep from your eyes, but I'm liking the spirits we're seeing here between these two players, between these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's here for. Friendly banter, just great competition, and you love to see it. I mean, this first game is definitely going to show who is going to be the right trash talker in that position. So we definitely have to see here if it's going to be Toasty, the big Canadian. I do also like the South Park theme there. Good add-on by choice with Toasty. But, I mean, Pinzo as well is very confident going in, as you can see on both of these videos. So I really want to see this first game, and I'm really excited for it.
I'm pumped to see it too. There's a reason you play the games. Dilo said it a little bit ago. I also love upsets. Anybody who knows lands on a personal level, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, so I'm always rooting for underdogs, baby. So let's go MTG.
And let's go into this draft. P's and B's coming at us in just a moment. Worth mentioning as well, just a dynamic that we haven't gotten to quite touch on is the fact that both of these teams are working with some new elements. I believe it was touched on as well by the DLAB interview, but we have changed up our rosters slightly. We have Margot Robbie stepping into the team of Mind the Gap, going to bring a ton of publicity to Predecessor. Can't wait for this game to be revived thanks to the graces of Harley Quinn herself as this Iggy band comes in.
I mean, you saw it on the head-to-head there. Iggy was one of the main characters that they banned. I mean, this is kind of probably just a preference here, but Iggy's also one of those characters that allows for you to control these pits, control a certain amount of these fights in the jungle. I mean, I totally agree here.
And every time you see DLAB, you will either see Aurora picked on their side, picked against them, or banned early because Conte one-tricks this hero. I have to note, we mentioned the patch we had 2 days ago. Iggy and Aurora both nerfed in patch. The first two bans of quarterfinals for PCC9. Interesting.
And now it's going to be interesting to see, of course, what leaves you for these first picks. Of course, Wraith's been a high priority in the meta, but Terra has been too. Ever since her release, dominated in PCC9. We're not seeing any difference here with the next one. Going to be that first lock-in for DLAB.
Yeah, I mean, Terra's a very good pick. I mean, it kind of got you a nice little CC cleanse to go into kind of any battle. She can kind of force herself in any situation if she has that ultimate up. And there's no really big way to stop her unless you have two characters that can really lock her down in one area.
Right, and the other thing about it is it frees up your ability to pick Sevarog, Terra, the main counter to that hero. So if they want to secure that for Labber, but they cannot, because Dr. Flick's going to be piloting that, they're also going to pick up that Decker, who has been just the staple of the support lane since December of 2022 when Predecessor was released to the public.
That's showing that prioritization there in that dual lane matchup that Pinzo touched on before. So some nice easy CC with that stun ball. Going to be very nice to try to lock down some of these fights early in that post 15-minute mark that they mentioned as well. Taking away that Sevarog too. Show some respect they're putting on DLAB's name. They recognize their strategy and they're thwarting it in its place. Twin Blast, nice typical ADC pick. Going to be locked in there for DLAB. Can't blame them for it. It's solid. It's dependable. Zarus as well. A nice pick to put down that cage.
Yeah, I mean, this is also Conte's secondary. He is not any weaker when it comes to the jungle role whenever Aurora is not available. Zarus is exceptionally well in the hands of Conte, so they do also need to look out for that. Twin Blast is kind of just shifting himself into a stronger ADC. You're going to kind of typically see him just kind of be here a little bit more. And I think Lincoln is going to be having a fun time, especially with a little bit more mobility on that character.
And Mind the Gap gonna pick the gadget up. I love seeing that. I feel like it either needed to be picked or banned in this next rotation from Mind the Gap. You can't give the gadget and the Zarus over, especially when they've already got the Terra. Not a whole lot of ways to be able to stop it here. So that's gonna be in Pinzo's hand. Gadget also received a little bit of a nerf to Tesladome, not enough to take her out of favor. But then the Zinc's gonna be banned on the side of Mind the Gap too. So no resurrections for DLAB today.
No second chances, and we're only in our first game, so that's a-okay. Just taking out these meta threats is the way to go about it. Curious to see if in this back half of the draft, as the second ban is waited for by DLAB, Mind the Gap, especially our friend Flick, known for their kind of crazy cookery in the meta. So wondering to see if it's going to be inspiring the rest of Mind the Gap to maybe follow suit at some point. But it's going to be that ban falling in from DLAB. Just going to keep that energy going, and now we can look to see what's going to be picked up next.
I mean, taking away the Wraith here is pretty huge. He did get a slight nerf in the last big patch. But, I mean, Zinx is away as well. Toasty does not get to be able to play Zinx. We know Toasty likes his Zinx and Decker, so that's two of his big main supports kind of out of the way. So, Mind the Gap right now, kind of definitely hitting that support role, kind of great draft between both teams. But when it comes down to a pick here, they still need to pick up their mid laner. I think they might push it off to last to kind of see what the overall comp is and kind of pick themselves up. But the Richter coming in here, this is going to spice things up because now you got two big beefy boys on the side of Mind the Gap.
And that should be going into Tanjiro's hands, or not Tanjiro's hands. They've got the Decker already. That should be going into Flick's hands. So we'll see if we can get those Flick hooks, try to catch somebody out. I really like that into Terra, as long as you can get her in and silence her before she's able to get that ult off. Otherwise, I feel like Terra's kind of going to be able to just walk away if we get that matchup in the offlane, and unless the Terra goes into the jungle, of course. But we've got one rotation left of picks. The Faye comes through already. This is one of Appy Picker's preferred heroes now that Faye is back into the meta. Appy Picker, one of the few people that were playing Faye even before the buff she had taken a little bit ago. They're going to use the Bellica to round that up, put that into the support role as well.
I'm scared to see Appy Picker on anything they feel comfortable with. That is a player who can easily carry a game if you start to get that ball rolling early. So putting them somewhere where they feel comfortable is a great way to start off your set, in my opinion. Comp's locked in for DLAB. We'll wait for Mind the Gap to start to get theirs finished up, and they will with that Grim EXE. Guys, Comp's locked in here. What's the draft philosophy on each side? What are their strengths? What are the weaknesses?
When it comes out to DLAB, you're looking at a very divey team here. They're able to control a lot. Faye, like Lance was saying, she's kind of worked herself back into this game, and she is very dangerous. Those 5 traps, have you seen it kind of just determine games and determine these team fights. And Belica as well has been working her way up as one of those top supports as well. I mean, overall, DLAB here is looking to punish anybody that gets hit, anybody that gets caught out, and just being able to just burst somebody down.
I think this is a very interesting draft for Mind the Gap. Yes, there are not a whole lot of magical defense items for DLAB to be able to stack into them. Belica is fantastic into Grim. Like, really, really good into Grim. You cannot use your bubble if Belica is out there. She puts down the drone. If you push your button to put that bubble, it just zaps you, then you can get knocked up for free, or vice versa. Very good into Faye, but I'm telling you, if that drone is out, it completely negates the fact that you can cleanse the fly trap. That is a interesting last pick, and I hope Margot can pilot it well, but this is looking like a DLAB stomp to me.
Ooh, all right, so we already got one desk member throwing their favor here to the first seed, and for good reason. They're at the top for a reason. They've played beautifully. They've talked some crap along the way, and Mind the Gap have now got to mind this dangerous comp they're piloting. If there's one hope we think there is for Mind the Gap to take this game, though, despite DLAB and their draft potential superiority, what do we think that is?
Hoping that DLAB doesn't notice that they're all just doing magical damage. I mean, that's probably one of their biggest
How would they know?
But how would they know? How would they know?
How would they know?
You know, but it's going to come down to working well together. I mean, the gadget does counter the Zarya, so does the Sevarog. But the fact that they're just on that one base damage and DLAB just kind of winning this draft is just... it's just so hard to come by. They're just going to have to outplay, control, be the better team overall in just general game style, and just have to just not worry about the heroes that they picked.
You gotta put your faith in your NA West mid laner if you're Mind the Gap. Pinzo, Dunzo's gotta put them in the backpack, put them up there. The only problem is DLAB's got an NA West mid laner too in Appy Picker.
Ooh, so maybe just toss it up and hope for the server gods to smile favorably upon you. We're going to have to find out how it all plays out on the field of battle. DLAB versus Mind the Gap. Can Margot Robbie and Tanjiro take a break from their celebrity sabbaticals and make sure to lead the boys to slay the enemy seed 1, or will it just be another suicide squad? Woofy, GG, Frauken, take it away.
Yes, it is I, Chains Liesel, together with Falcon here to bring you this amazing game between DLAB and MTG. And while DLAB trudges the beaten path, MTG, just like the card game, will be all about the magic. Hello, everybody.
I'm so mad you put that immediately into the speech. God damn it, Woofy. Thank you very much. And, I mean, the desk put it perfectly. There's 5 AP on Mind the Gap, and DLAB, they have a really good composition just in general, so it is definitely going to be a game that Mind the Gap are going to have to try and play from behind. But if you're going 5 AP, having the gadget is kind of necessary. Having that Tesla Dome to have the magical resistance shred means that you can actually do some damage if the enemy team does the stack that magical defense. Then again, they have to get to that mid game at least for Pinzo to come online.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? Because right now in Predecessor, you don't really have a lot of magical defense items that will give you a high burst in early game. So maybe MTG is cooking something fierce and just saying, you know what, we're just going to beat you by the power of the game itself.
I mean, they could be saying that. It's going to be something that I don't think is going to happen, but I just want to go over to this Faye pick because we haven't really seen Faye for a very long time. It wasn't really picked that much in the Swiss stage. We have had just that minor patch, but I think because teams have played more now, have scrimmed more, they have got more comfortable with this pick. Obviously, the major counter to Faye is that Reclamation that I imagine Tanjiro is going to be picking up on at this Decker. But that doesn't change the fact that Faye can be a lane bully, especially against a gadget. So Pinzo is going to probably have to play quite safe and expect DLAB to try and play through this mid lane.
We also have to keep in mind, though, that Gadget has a lot of range available to them. So maybe the range will be a little bit of a safety net for Pinzo against this Faye. but you also have a lot of CC available to you when you're Fae. You have the Bramble Patch, you have the Harvest Nettles, the Fly Trap if you need to. So as you said, Falcon, so nicely, is that you just need to keep your distance in this mid lane lest you want to lose it. But here in the off lane, Flick and Lauber here, Richter versus Terra. What do you think about that composition?
I mean, it's a tank versus a bruiser. Terra is going to have the play chance or the aggression in that lane. And I think Dr. Flick, he has the opportunity to counter, especially if Lauber mispositions, get a stack Whiplash under the tower. But in terms of just the general DPS, the general stats of both characters, Lauber is going to have the advantage. And we can already see in the duo lane, Lakenator and Toasty, they have the enemy wave pushed onto them. I don't know exactly how that happened because it looks like their wave has gone under the tower of Mind the Gap. But the HP pools are rather even looking at it. HP potions have been picked. But if any jungler can get over there soonest, then there is a potential for First Blood.
Yeah, and that is where we look towards Conte, the legendary Aurora player that just stomped onto the scene and was turning up. And right now, rocking the Saris. Tanjiro Kamado, though, very low and will actually fall to Lakenator for the first blood. Market Robbie has to blink out of the way. Conte coming from the side trying to get it, but no matter what, DLAB is on the board with the first kill.
We didn't even need the junglers. Toasty and Lakenator decided to do it themselves, and that was a great start for them. That is the aggression Bellica can give to this lane. Twin Blast normally requires at least 1 or 2 items to really come online, but Bellica, having those base stats, having the Seismic, having the Void Bomb, does enough damage themselves to make sure that first blood does happen. Lauber and Dr. Flick aggressing onto each other as much. Dr. Flick actually has the experience lead, looking like he has got that slow pushing into Lauber. Will probably reset once that has gone through. The sign buff is not available for him, and we can see that junglers both have reset, gone for their first back. Same with the mid laners, and I'm interested to see what Afi has gone, because he's gone for the staff here, most likely into that Megacosm that you normally see on Fae, because that doesn't build into the combustion.
No, but it at least adds a lot of damage to the equation, so I feel that there might be a plan of just getting that online as soon as possible to make sure that you can outpressure the gadget. But in this case, we have Nuxlet here in the dual lane side jungle, trying to see if he can get an engage here, rocking in with the Shadow Slave. He's getting knocked up by the Seismic Assault, and of course, there will also be a drone as well to make sure that the mana is nowhere to be found. Toasty really showing up here.
Yeah, a decent blink as well. Conte now looking at Nuxlet, going for a 1v1 in the jungle. Both players not really going for a full aggression. The hunt is actually going to be used on the river buff, making sure that there is no extra mana for Pinzo available. But the damage is coming through. Apple has the advantage in the later. Nuxlet is going to have to run away. The follow through is going to try and come through. Conte is away. He was going for Pinzo for a second, and now Pinzo is in a bad position.
He has to blink out of the way, and he survives another day, but at the cost of a lot of HP for both members of Mind the Gap. Toasty waiting for an opportunity to strike, does miss the Seismic Assault here, and Market Robbie and Tanjiro has to keep their distance. They might even try to go for it now that the jungle is an open field, but they really can't push that much forward because they don't know the positions of their opponents.
Yeah, and the fly trap immediately coming in at level 6. Pinzo gets caught through. The fly trap was effective. The Harvest Nettles and the auto attack is given through. That is just going to be a 1v1. Pinzo should have expected that. He should have known as soon as the level 6 was coming through, the ultimate would follow, but was not in a position and was able to react in time to save his life. That is just a quick, clear kill for Happy Picker. He's probably going to reset. I don't know if he can finish the item. He can actually build into combustion from that staff. Apologies for earlier, but I want to go back to this duo lane, and I love how well Lakenator and Toasty are playing this. They're playing the waves so well. They know as soon as they can keep it near their tower, they can freeze the wave, make sure that Mind the Gap's duo lane can't get close because of the kill pressure, and as soon as they have to push it in the other way, they hard push it into the wave, immediately go over to the gold buff we can see here, and we'll try and reset from there.
Yeah, and here's Tanjiro as well, trying to see if something can be done about this little situation, because they would like to get that gold for Margot Robbie. However, Legionator will get it successfully with a nice pull at the last minute. And as you said, like, they can't really do anything over on Mind the Gap in the dual lane because of the pressure of Toasty and Legionator. As you said, the Bellica is literally disallowing this dual lane to play, because you will lose all your mana, and then once level 6 hits, what are you gonna do? That's just gonna be a new Disruptor right to the face, and you will just lose. So I don't really see a hole in that strategy.
Yeah, Mind the Gap, they just need to scale in that dual lane. They need to get Grim a few items, get that Plasma Blade online, and probably Disguise Glitter as well. Meantime, Conte is looking in the mid lane. I don't know if Fly Trap is back up, but Pinzo is just in the complete wrong place. That's the enemy's jungle, Pinzo. What are you doing?
He's trying to escape with his life intact, but he is in a dangerous position. He has to try and get out. The Harvest Needles are going to connect. The Bramble Patch is going to go right out, and there it is. Abby Picker taking another kill for himself. Pinzo is done so.
I mean, we're going back to that trash talk at the start of the game, and it definitely seems to be going the way of DLAB so far, because Pinzo has just died twice in the lane. That is going to give DLAB the opportunity to go for the first objective of the game. 8 minutes on the clock. Quite late in terms of the first Fangtooth, but Noxlet is going to have to control that mid wave. The dual lane has not been able to step out of their tower for quite a while at this point, and you're not expecting Dr. Flick to rotate all the way over. That's the first 3 kills and first Fangtooth for a DLAB. Mini Prime is up and available. Lorba should be able to help with it. The Ventilate comes through. Tanjiro behind the tower is going to be able to block. Margot Robbie is also quite low. The ultimates are going to be available. Nuxlet coming in, but it's too late.
Well, is it too late? The Subjugate is going to come down, but a Blink will be expended as well. Legionator just got a kill onto Tanjiro, but he wants to re-engage. The GTFO is going to connect onto Toasty, but it's not going to kill him just yet. Margot Robbie manages to get a hold onto Legionator, but that is too little too late. 2 members going down, 2 kills for Mind the Gap. They might even go for a third here while Abby Picker is having fun with Margot in the back. There we have it. And, oh my goodness, Conte is going down to Pinzo as well with the power of the Seek and Destroy. Abby Picker is all by their lonesome, caught inside a net of lies. Has to expend the Fly Trap to make sure they survive. With also a kill! This boy is surviving yet another day! What is happening here, Falcon?
Kill him, for God's sake! Whoever! Market and Nuxlet finally get the kill for Abby Picker. He gets the kill on Tanjiro, nearly picks up Market as well on the back end. That was just complete madness. DLAB, they were so ahead in that dual lane, but Nuxlet, he got there in time. Yes, he missed a colossal blow, but the HP bars of Toasty and Legionator were not there. And by the time that Abby Picker was able to come through, Pinzo had already used his ultimate. He used his entire kit and killed the dual lane of DLAB. Now we're back into it. The stun is coming through. Margot Robbie is just going to try and walk down Legionator in a 2v1, but the HP bars, the minions, are going to try and take it, but eventually Legionator does go down. What is happening with the mini pipe has just been started?
Well, they have the opportunity to do so. Mind the Gap has finally gotten some wind in their sails. 3 members down at the Mini Prime. They will most likely go towards Dr. Flick to actually counter this Terra. Abby Picker from the side trying to get in, but he knows that this is a little bit too scary. But knowing Abby from my PTSD of the All-Star event, it's just about time where he will just push a button and he just wins randomly, you know.
Yeah, but it's not playing Fang now, so there is a chance the Reclamation will eventually come through from Mind the Gap. The mini prime was given over to Nuxlet. I think they were just a bit worried that Conte was nearby, used the hunt to secure it. So Dr. Flick is still going to have issues in that off lane, but he's surviving. He hasn't given up a kill. Lorba, I imagine, is probably up a little bit. CS is able to actually go for the invade as well. Finish that mutilator, which is the core on the tower, and Dr. Flick trying to use the Rip Blast with the max HP to kill the minion, but to no effect. It's still the same level, so it's not too bad. He is doing what he needs to in this lane, and hopefully when he can rotate into the fight. But speaking of rotates, there is 2 members of DLAB going over to this off lane.
Conte is waiting for his opportunity to strike like a viper in the grass. Lauber going right after this tower to take it down and continue this engage. Flick has to blink out of the way. He is inside the jungle side, but Pinso is there with a Seek and Destroy to show his presence. They might not even go for it. And over on the other side, Market Robbie manages to finally get a hold on to Toasty. And now it's such an even playing field for these two teams. Nuxlet going right in with the dual lane to try and see if they can get a hold on to Legionator and the tier 1 tower. Nuxlet trying to blast away the consecrated. Oh my goodness, the Iron Strike was literally the final nail in the coffin there. So that's going to be 2 towers going down within a minute. Pretty impressive stuff.
Legionator didn't need to die there. He could have just walked away to his tier 2 and survived. There was no way in hell or heaven or whatever else you want to talk about that he was saving that tower against a mini prime 3 members of Mind the Gap. So that's just an extra kill on to this Grim. 4-0-2 at this stage of the game. 1.5 items completed. Going that full crit build on this Grim. He is going to be a massive threat come this mid game, and he has the front line. He has the Several Victor. Yes, there is 5 members of Mind the Gap that do magical damage, but at the moment in time, no one on DLAB is actually building defense, so it's fine.
Yeah, it seems that they know the situation at hand and just say, okay, let's just go for an aggressive item build, because they know that there aren't many magical defense items in the game. So maybe they're just gonna go for a full aggressive play style here with their lane presence. Nuxlet over in the dual lane jungle, waiting for an opportunity to strike, but he notices that they are aware, so he has to skedaddle out of the way just the same. The Fangtooth is spawning, or it has spawned rather, and it might look like MTG is setting up for it. Appy Picker is all by his lonesome there, Conte following suit. They might have to keep their distance because this fight is not one they would want.
Again, Mind the Gap have the team fighting composition. DLAB were trying to go for that lane dominance, and that hasn't exactly worked out too well. Yes, Lauber and Appy Picker are ahead, but the dual lane is not. They have gained access to the pit. Mind the Gap had to get the waves. We see Pinso retaining to his team. If DLAB are looking for an engage, this is the moment.
And there it is. There's a beautiful fence to keep the members of DLAB at bay. They do not want to be caught unawares. So right now they're just hiding behind their jungle side, trying to see if they can get an opening. Toasty firing off a beautiful seismic assault onto Nuxlet to show his presence. And what a beautiful disengage from Tanjiro there to not get caught out.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage. So Nuxlet's resetting, so is Tanjiro, so is Margaret. This is basically guaranteeing the Fangtooth for DLAB, but they have started it now. 2 members of them are in the river still. We can get enough time for Mind the Gap to come over here. They can't go for the objective. They might be able to look for a team fight. Dr. Flick is looking, but he's walked up too far.
No, don't do that, Flick. Unfortunate. Gets caught in the flat trap and dies just the same. They're on the retreat. Here's the Colosseum on top, but Margaret Robbie answers and destroys Conte with the Orb of Death itself. Lauber trying to fire off at Pinso. Pinso's very low and has to blink out of the way. The GGFO has also connected. He is on the retreat. There's not a lot you can do here, Lauber. You will fall. And that means the multiple members of DLAB pretty much just had to get away.
Yes, Mind the Gap, they lost the second Fangtooth, but they got 2 big picks. They don't gain anything from it. They can't push the mid wave because of the HP bars. They can't push the off lane because no one's there. If anything, Legionator's actually going to want to get tower because he has the wave. There's only Tanjiro there to stop the wave. Decker has okay wave clear, but I mean, Legionator, he could look for a potential kill. Dr. Flick has gone over to this duo side, probably for the best, making sure that Legionator, if he does go over ego like we have seen a few times this game so far, he would have died. But instead, Legionator is learning. He decides to back off instead and finish off that Sky Splitter for the Trim Blast.
Oh, look! He's learning. Okay, well, I mean, one Egonator later, and we find out that it's an adaptable situation. It was a mistake. It won't happen again, they promise. And the mini prime spawning here is going to be engaged by the side of DLAB. Tanjiro, Kamado, Pinzo, Dunzo, and of course Nuxlet following suit to stop this engage. They have to retreat because the numbers are not in their favor. But that opens up the field for themselves to engage onto this. There are 4 members of both sides of this coin.
5.
And we'll see who will actually end up getting it.
Mindegap have all 5 members here. We've got Lakenator just slip % on the side. Mindegap really need to get this and make sure that they can use something, because they are losing a tower guaranteed. They might even leave a tier 2 if no one actually resets in time. But they have been given it over. I don't see exactly who it is on. I imagine it's probably on Margaret, who is the strongest member of the team at this moment in time. They have got multiple members in this mid wave. They really want to get this mid tier 1 tower, and maybe the tier 1 tower in the offlane as well. And Lakenator is just continuing to farm. He's taking the enemy red buff, he's taking the tower, he's gained a lot of gold just from that. I don't really think this has been worth a Mindegap so far.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate that they haven't been able to get more purchase out of their advantages, but at the end of the day, that just shows that DLAB is a force to be reckoned with. They will stop you if you get too far forward, but they also have to kind of take the risk once in a while. It seems that they're playing very safely, and it results in them not really getting a lot of things after getting a kill in a team fight.
That is true, but you've got to remember they also scale better than DLAB. They have that Severock, they have the Gadget, they have the Grim. All these characters are very good in this late game. Yes, again, we have to mention that there is 5 magical damage characters on Mindegap, but DLAB, they've only got Mist Meadows on Lorba and Conte at the moment. That's not going to do too much at this moment in time. Dr. Flick missing that Whiplash thanks to Lorba's charge, and I don't mind it. Mindegap know that they are even at this series game. That's exactly what they want. They don't want to give a chance for DLAB to come back into the game right now, because if he does, that is basically guaranteeing him third Fangtooth. And I mean, they have to fight there. The Fangtooth cannot be given over to DLAB at this series of game. So if there's going to be a team fight, that's where it's going to be.
Tanjiro had to expend a blink to get out of dodge from all of that damage, almost at like 18% HP left. Such a big burst of damage coming out from the DLAB squad. But as you said, the third Fangtooth is up for grabs, and that is something that Mindegap really has to get, as you mentioned, Falcon. But they will only get the first if they contest it, but if DLAB gets it, they will get the power and defenses. So here is Nuxlet with the news, trying to see if the Subjugate can connect. It will successfully. The battle will continue. He will hammer away. He says, stop hammer time. The Iron Strike is going to connect on top together with a Colossal Blow to keep it at bay. Abby Picker will fall in battle. But that is almost everything they can get out of that, because the position was not in order there.
I mean, Abby Picker is the biggest member of DLAB right now, level 12. The Fly Trap is so potent, but again, that's GTFO, that's the Iron Strike, that's the Colossal Blow, that's the Tesla Dome. Dr. Flick is the only one with the ultimate of Mindegap right now. I think DLAB can still look for this in a 4v5. At the very least, they can 100% delay this Fangtooth until Abby Picker's back up. There's only 5 seconds left on this Fae, and once the Fae gets back, then it is just going to be a 5v5 again. And DLAB have all the ultimates.
That's a really dangerous situation when you have so many possible tools at your disposal. But it seems that Mindegap wants to go for this Fangtooth. They want to stop the advance from DLAB. Will it be too late though? We'll have to wait and see. Right now, Lorber and Conte are situated around. They want to see if they can get there engaged. Conte will actually not steal it. Usually that's the case, but right now the fight is continuing. The Tesla Dome on top is keeping things at bay. Tanjiro is solo and will fall to Lakenator. Nuxlet as well. They're all on the retreat. Lorber is solo. He has to be Colossal blown away to keep it at bay. Dr. Flick connecting a Whiplash onto Abby Picker, but it is too little, too late. The DLAB boys turn up the heat.
Fangtooth for ace. DLAB doesn't care about the third Fangtooth because you have just given 5 kills over to the squad, and they are going to rush towards this Orb Prime. Lakenator, Appy Picker, they have more than enough damage to deal with this. Lorber is going to be able to tank this up, and with only Tanjiro up for Mind the Gap, then this should be an easy pickup. But it goes back to what we just said, Ruffy. There was no ultimates, there was no fighting power for Mind the Gap, and once the factory was gone, DLAB could just run down and take out multiple members of Mind the Gap. That is going to be the Orb Prime secured. You got multiple members of Mind the Gap coming through, but they should be able to disengage quite easily. There is going to be a reset happening, and there is nothing on the map that Mind the Gap can actually gain at this point.
No, because everything has been taken by the DLAB camp, and that is a usual situation we see in PCC. But we cannot deny the fact that MTG has definitely given them a fair fight, where it has gone both ways in multiple team fights. But right now it's shaping up with the items now that we reach the mid game that you talked about earlier, Falcon. How is this much different from the early game for Mind the Gap?
I mean, they have the scaling, they have got those front lines, but I just saw on the scoreboard, there is 160 farm difference between the two teams right now. That is monumental. That is probably a few thousand gold just in there, minus the Orb Prime at this moment in time. If we can go for something, Mind the Gap have decent wave clear, Grim and the Gadget is going to be able to deal with these minions for quite a while, but I think the main threat is just the split push. Is there anyone on Mind the Gap that can actually deal with Lorva at this point in time? Is there anyone who can deal with this Fae in a 1v1? I don't think so. And if Appy Picker decides to just push and use the fly trap on a single target, they're basically guaranteed dead.
Yeah, and right now they are engaging on all 3 tier 2s. The middle tier 2 tower has fallen to the side of DLAB. They can actually keep on the pressure because, they, as you said, they don't have anyone to really stop this pressure. Flick cannot stop Lauber, and of course Pinzo, if he moves a little bit too far forward, Conte is gonna meet him up with a Colosseum. So keep your distance. That's the only thing you can really do at this point. So right now, Appy Picker engaging onto this dual lane inhibitor and mid lane inhibitor as well, getting engaged on. All members of MTG are ready for the bout, but is it a little bit too late to actually answer once everything has been said and done?
They just need to focus on defending these inhibs. Appy Picker maybe target on his own, but that's just pulled multiple members of Mind the Gap over to this Duo side. That's given the mid lane access to this inhibitor. It's not going to be able to be pushed on this one, but Lorber's finally dealt with the tower. He's present on his own inhibitor. It is a 1-3-1 for a DLAB, and once that split comes through, Mind the Gap, they can't go for the defense anymore. The mid one has been taken. The 3 members that were there have gone over to Lorber. Appy Picker is going to be able to take that inhibitor. In the meantime, the final inhibitor is going to go down. Dr. Flick caught by the Highland Hold. There is going to be an engage here.
Oh! Colosseum right on top! Toasty and the gang are ready to bout. Conte once again showing that it's not just Aurora. It is all of the junglers that has the potential to engage that will help them in their case. Despite Conte falling here, it doesn't matter because the pressure is there. DLAB is ready to rock and roll. Look at the pressure, look at the damage, look at the absolute wonder of the DLAB boys as they take game 1 against Mind the Gap.
It looked shaky for the first, between the 10 and 20 minute mark, but that third factory fight, Mind the Gap made a mistake. They made the issue of going in too early, using their ultimates, and DLAB instantly punished it, instantly got that wipe, and as soon as they got that wipe, they went Orb Prime, they went towers, they went inhibitors, they went the core. And I mean, yes, the draft of 5 magicals probably did not help Mind the Gap whatsoever, but DLAB, once again, we've seen how well they are at those 20-minute team fights.
Yeah, it was just a demolition to be enjoyed by all of you here at home and at the desk, and of course the production team as a whole. We're gonna send it back to the analyst desk to break down this game for us.
Woofy and Falcon, everyone, thank you very much for bringing us that game. Guys, that was interesting. Maybe not quite what we expected there when we first saw those P's and B's. For a moment, the hope that you made, F6, that maybe DLAB will forget about the magical damage, I think they did temporarily have some short-term memory loss. Then they were like, oh, now we know. And they went back to business as usual. Guys, walk me through that game.
I mean, mind the gap. Just kind of started off a little bit rough early. Started to come back, started to show some, presence. And then DLAB said, hey, it's 20 minutes. We're here to close this game out. And they did. Pretty much all I pretty much saw there.
Yeah, they got the team fights at the right spot. Yeah, they gave up their opportunity to get that third Fang Tooth, ended up giving that over to Mind the Gap. But Conte got a wonderful Coliseum that separated Margot and somebody else in that fight that allowed DLAB to pick them off, and then they get the whole team wipe, kill all 5 members of it, move it directly over to a Prime. I will say, for a 1 versus 8, this is probably the closest matchup we have had so far in any of the quarterfinals that we've seen. It does not look like MTG is out of the series to me.
No, not by any means. They had a great showing, and that's on a comp that we had some, I think, very valid reasons to show doubts for as well. That being said, Pinzo saying that mid is secure, I don't know about that one, buddy. Those first couple kills dropped by that Faye, including some solo bolos, I mean, Pinzo, come on, man. You can't be writing off my man's Appy that easily. So coming in, as we look forward, we look ahead into the next matchup, what recommendations do we have here for MTG to make sure the result screen's a bit different?
I mean, one of the big things is the jungler versus jungler. Nugs played exceptionally well when it comes out towards putting presence towards the lanes, but one of the things he didn't do well is farm. I think that's also one of the things, especially on a Sevarog, you kind of need to build up those shoulder pads to really be relevant. And yes, you get those ganks off, but you'll also need to pay attention to the economy inside the jungle.
For me, you just got to stunt. Play the heroes you're most comfortable with. Put Pinzo on his main, put Flick on his main, let him play flippin' Narbash off lane if he wants to, let him play Rampage off lane if you want, get Nugslet onto Crunch, pick your comfortable heroes, beat them with what you're best at, screw the meta. There's a brand new patch, set the meta yourself.
I like that idea. Maybe just kind of try to take things by the reins. We've seen it happen from Flick before where they don't follow the meta follows them, and hopefully we can follow them to potentially a game 3 in this set should the gods be willing to allow it. But we're going to have to find out only through one way, and that's by getting to the next game. So after the break, we have more PCC9 action coming at you. Don't go anywhere. Hello everyone, and welcome back to PCC9 quarterfinals here. I'm DLAB, here to bring you the action alongside my friends Lance, Cecil, and F6. Guys, we just saw a pretty rousing game 1. Some unexpected twists and turns that took place, some subversions of our expectations. We gotta look to see here if things can get any different. How we feeling?
Feeling good, man. I mean, game 1, definitely, we kind of figured DLAB would come out on top, but not as close as it really was a game. So I'm looking for MTG here to kind of just come out, get a better draft, and kind of just show their strengths and like, hey, we can actually take it towards DLAB. Because I mean, there was a segment inside that game where we're like, hey, MTG might actually come on top even with this weird draft coming into game number 1. So MTG, this is your game number 2 to shine and kind of prove the doubters wrong that you guys are meant to be here.
Prove the doubters wrong. Prove to yourself you belong here as well. And I know that the members on that team all believe in themselves. They all know that they're worthy of being here and that they can take this down. I mentioned it before. They took down Animal Farm within our Swiss, so not the type of team to back down and shy away from the higher competition. Yeah, Pinzo was talking about kind of having a focus on PCCX during his introduction video for himself, but you know they're here and they want to win today.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to keep your mind focused on the present. And speaking of Pinzo, let's take a look at these mid stats here, because that was certainly an interesting matchup to talk about. Pinzo said mid secured. Is that the case? Let's find out, guys. What are we seeing here between these two stat lines?
I mean, we're seeing that Pinzo does have the kills, the KDA. No, I mean, he's out there working for it, but I mean, it has to come down to those damage numbers, right? I mean, just look at the damage that Appy is able to supply for his team. He might not be able to secure the kills, but he's putting a lot of pressure.
And honestly, there's not that big of a gap between a 5. We're going to round here between a 5 KDA and a 7 KDA. Both had real good performances in our Swisses. That's where these stats are pulled from. Both very close to the 10 CS a minute mark as well, which is definitely where you want to be. In the first game, it did look like it went Appy's favor, but Faye has an advantage in lane over Gadget as well, which is something that is worth mentioning for what we saw in the previous game.
Curious to see how that mid matchup wounds up this time, because like we said, Happy Picker instantly said, okay, you think this is done? It is done, just for you instead. So hopefully Pinzo can find some response here, and that might just come down to these P's and B's looking up ahead. I mean, we talked about what the composition allowed you in terms of the strategy. Do we feel like it was executed upon well? Where were the moments where MTG were gathering strength? Why was it? And how do we expect it to be applied in this P's and B's coming here for Game 2?
I mean, they started to rotate all around the map. They started to understand kind of jungle track throughout the entire midsection of the game right before that 20-minute mark. And they started to just be confident in their teamwork, their capability to kind of just put the pressure on DLAB and not make them comfortable.
Hey, Margot was the star, just like she is in all of the movies in the last one. 6-1 at a certain point on that Grim. I would love to see them try to get one of the primary premier ADCs and put it into Margot's hands. Maybe get the Wraith for him or something to be able to kind of carry a little bit harder. You see the Aurora ban. We talked about it in the last P's and B's stage. Don't want to give that over to Conte, even though he did shine on the Zarus as well.
Seeing here the exact same B's, man, that's so interesting. I mean, it's showing the fact that Mind the Gap are saying maybe what the issue wasn't necessarily the composition that DLAB drafted. It's more so our execution of our own side. They did have strides they hit. They did have Fangtooth they took. So hopefully we can see them this time maybe find that extra ingredient that could result in a winning recipe. Twin Blast locked back in here for... No, actually, I'm completely psyched out. Sorry, I'm having hallucinations. It's a Terra once again top locked here for DLAB.
Yeah, I was like, locking in Twin Blast first here is kind of criminal coming out of DLAB. But yeah, the Terra, I mean, we saw how well the Terra was able to play into that game. Not anything too shiny, but it's Lobber, able to make the plays that he needs to, able to aggress. And you're going to be able to see that again going into trying to fill out that team comp. A very safe pick for the first one.
Yeah, old, reliable Lobber. You just put him on somebody with a huge HP bar, and he's going to do the damn thing. We've got the same draft from last game. Decker and Sevarog going to be picked up. First rotation from Mind the Gap. I hope that's Dr. Flick on Sevarog this game.
I've also got to say that this could just be the run back completely. Mind the Gap have clearly shown we are not phased by our loss in game 1. They are making a statement here. They're saying, we do have everything locked down. It's simply just a bit of execution diff on our part. There's the Twin Blast. Thanks, Choice. We got it this time around, and hopefully Lake, my friend, is not going to... Are we just seeing Deja Vu completely strike us again? Is this going to be a complete run back with the Zarus lock from DLAB?
Yeah, it looks like a salty run back. I mean... Mind the Gap says, hey, I mean, if you're just going to pick Terra again, we're just going to pick the same comp. DLAB answers back. And I mean, hopefully they change the last 4 picks here, last 5 picks. I mean, surely, right? I mean, they can't just run it back, right?
I was rubbing my crystal ball, trying to look into the future, predict that gadget pick coming out for Pinzo, but it's gonna be Argus as well, who's matching the crystal ball vibe that I got going on up here, I must say.
Oh, that's it.
So a little bit of a change, a little bit more outplay potential for Pinzo here in the mid lane, as Argus has got a little more setup for his jungler to be able to come in as well compared to that gadget. They're gonna get rid of the Zinx, which was the same ban that they had in the last game. So the only difference we're seeing in this draft so far is that Argus going to the side of Mind the Gap over the gadget.
They're not going to be changing the comp completely, but they're changing the cuts. Maybe just a little fresh shave is all that Mind the Gap needs to please shave off a nice victory from this series. And I like that setup. It allows for more CC in combination, of course, with your Decker there. Just maybe some more lockdown, which could work. Hopefully Lake, though, won't get deer in headlight syndrome and lock themselves down beneath their towers. That could potentially also be a good way to ensure DLAB don't fall. A Wraith ban once again. it really is just everything the same except for a couple pieces of the puzzle. But isn't Argus change enough? Do we need to see more from them to ensure that they actually have a chance?
I mean, this Argus pickup is a pretty good pickup. Really kind of forced them away from picking that Fae, him going into the side Obliterator, being able to kind of just get into his ultimate without using his Epoch or using a cleanse of any type, just to be able to kind of just allow him not to get pulled in. But I mean, Wraithband, Margot Robbie is playing, but here we see that Richter again. Very comfortable pick inside that offlane, but could also be pushed onto the jungle. But like Lance said last time, and get on some comfort picks. You guys picked up Nugslit. Get him the crunch that he needs.
I agree, but I am a little worried. Yeah, they picked that Argus up, and we've talked about it a little bit here. They have left Gadget up. They've got the Zarus on their side as well already. Gadget can kind of just sit in the lane and farm evenly with Argus. Isn't really at that much in that much danger while sitting in lane. I expect that to come through. Here comes the Narbash as well for Toasty. This team comp for DLAB at this point in time is nasty, boys.
This is scary stuff. Okay, we're seeing a change up here from DLAB. They've decided to also add some new spices to their roster here, and the recipe is going to change up a little bit. Mind the gap now. Do you just go the exact same path again, but now with an Argus in tow? Is that going to be enough? Personally, I've got to say I respect the confidence, but again, there's hubris to come with that. Pride cometh before the fall, so it's going to be a Murdoch. The long arm of the law is going to join their side. That makes me happy. Sometimes you just need to get out of the old mindset, in with the new.
Yeah, I mean, we all know Zar's Gadget combo, if lined up, is probably the most dangerous thing in this game, but very few times, very far between kind of combo that happens. Most of the time when we see this in PCC, it kind of lines up a little bit differently. But one thing that we do know is Narbash is very certain into these team fights, able to sustain his team, that slow kind of pace. Just say, hey, you want to take a long engagement here, we're just going to sustain it out. But picking up that Murdoch, though, is really useful, especially if they're able to get the lockdown with the Richter inside that offlane, or the CC with the Argus and Decker if they combine it, just to be able to snipe somewhere around the map, just to be able to secure that damage, true damage coming through.
Listen, MTG, they drafted some attack damage this time. As the great Ric Flair once said, woo! To be the man, you gotta beat the man. DLAB's the man. They've made it to our finals in every single event we've had in the calendar year 2024. You're out. You gotta win this game. Put it all on the table. Mind the gap. This is your chance.
I'm hoping for the upset. I'm hoping that the Cleveland Browns take down the Pats in this moment because, one, screw Tom Brady, but also, two, I love an underdog to see some victory. Brother. Yeah, good. I'm still not over it. I hope he retires from life. Anyway, mind the gap. Going to be looking here to try to tie this set up. What do we think is their greatest hope? What's the lane they have to play through? What's the player they need to put all the pressure on their shoulders for?
It's going to have to be that Argus. Argus is one of those characters, if he's able to get ahead, even just in farm, not necessarily kills, just to be able to control the lane, I think they're going to be able to control the rest of the map. Enzo being able to rotate throughout the dual lane or rotate towards the off lane, whichever objective is up, is going to be a real key factor, because we know Argus is one of those characters does a lot of damage, especially when the particle shredder is fully leveled up, all the mana in the world up, chemical rod built. It's completely dangerous.
Listen, for me, it's all about Margot in this. He was your biggest hope in game one. He had the best storyline. The rest of the Mind the Gap roster is feeling a lot like Ryan Gosling, because just like in La La Land and just like the Barbie movie, Margot Robbie's going to have to carry him.
The question is, will the Argus be enough? And I got to say, I'm a bit concerned. I like their confidence, but DLAB have got pedigree. They have synergy. They have a lot of cohesion working on their side. So guys, before we toss it over to our friends the casters, I got to ask, who wins this game and why? 3 words or less.
3 words.
Mind the gap.
Storyline MTG.
Valid. All right. I like that answer there. It's going to be a question of, will cinema play out on our screen? Will we be saying bye Barbie to Margot Robbie and Mind the Gap? We'll find out in just a second. Let's toss it to our friends Woofy, GG, and Frauken. Take it away, guys.
Bring it on, everybody! DLAB versus MTG here in the first quarterfinals of PCC9. This is most likely, unless there is something to be had on MTG, the last game of the first quarters with GG together with Falcon.
I can see that you're not on the same copium the desk is. And I am definitely with you. I think this composition by DLAB is just a straight upgrade from what they had last time. I can't believe that MTG just let through the gadget. They had the chance to ban it instead of the Zinks, but they let the microwave come through, and Appy Picker is very comfortable on this gadget. If anything, we can expect the dual lane of MTG to have an easier time compared to the first game, because Toasty is on this Narbas. He hasn't got as much poke, he has got to sustain, but enjoying this nice skin. It is a very good skin, I will admit, but he is going to be struggling for the first few levels.
Hey, you know how it is with ogres. They have layers. You just gotta peel one at a time until you get to the core of the being himself in his own swamp. So, yeah, I actually believe in it, because I'm kinda, you know, Narbash pilled, but at the end of the day, I love healing. It's so good, and it allows you to be so much more aggressive early game. Meanwhile, Lorber and Dr. Flick here in the offlane is having a Deja Vu episode sponsored by Initial D, as the pressure is on.
I mean, last game, Dr. Flick, not to his offense or anything, but he didn't really do anything. He laned, got to the team fights, and just kind of died with the rest of his team. I don't expect there to be much difference in terms of the laning. Lorber already quite aggressive in this lane compared to the first one. Maybe looking for an early gank from Conte. I don't expect that to come through, because we still have that victory. He still has a massive HP pool, but at the very least, very similar in terms of this early game, and we can already see what's happening in that dual lane. We can see Margaret and Tanjiro pushing in this Narbas Twin Blast, which is to be expected in these first few levels.
Yeah, in the beginning, it's going to be a little bit tough for Legionator and Toasty to get through this early game pressure from a Murdoch Decker combo. That is one of the most classic dual lanes we have in Predecessor. It is tried and true. And as you can see, the pressure is just there. They have to keep their distance. Meanwhile, here in mid lane, Pinso Danzo is trying to answer Appy Picker's call. But now he's up against the last pick of the last game, where he has to square up against a gadget as an Arcus. What do you think about that situation?
I don't think it's too bad for either side. They have got quite a lot of poke, but we can already see that both Pinzo and Appy are basically out of mana. Those real buffs have just respawned, so the mana is going to come back to them. But there isn't really that much of a kill threat for either side unless the junglers intervene. Saying that, anything can happen in the PCC, and we did see a few solo kills in that mid lane earlier in first game as well. So with both junglers now finished their vertical farming, we can see Conte is going towards the mid lane, Nuxlet looking towards the dual lane.
Right now, Conte is not going to have any of it, because the HP bar is way too low to do any engages. But Nuxlet lying in wait, trying to see if he can get a good engage, but he refuses to do anything overzealous. Meanwhile, Mind the Gap will finally have the opportunity for a gold buff. That's a first in this set.
Yeah, they're doing really well. They need to keep this pressure up in the dual lane until Toasty gets online with that healing and that aggression, especially once Legionator gets the first item online from Twin Blast. That's when his wave clear really comes online. They can just keep pushing in and in and in. I would love to see MTG go for maybe an early Fangtooth. The issue with that is Nuxlet is still playing this Sevarog, and he really needs to farm compared to the last game. Had a terrible CS score. Dr. Flick getting the Whiplash to go and take Lorber down to half HP, but has run out of abilities. Lorber is able to back off, has got that Bloodletter for the extra Omnivan, but Dr. Flick now going aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's very safe to say that Lorber just has to keep his distance, because here is Nuxlet trying to open up the field, but a high lane hurl stops that engage. Meanwhile, in mid lane, we still have the back and forth between Pinso and Appy Picker, but we have Conte nearby. he might actually notice that Pinzo jumped down for that river buff. So he should actually be fine for now, trying to find an opportunity to strike. This looks to be an opportunity. Pinzo is getting engaged on by Abby. Abby manages to get this river buff. Conte jumping in from the side. Scooches forward with the barricade and tries to get some damage. But here's Noxlit trying to answer the call of the wild. Conte is getting lower and lower to the particle shredder. And he has to escape with his life intact. Oh my goodness, what a start.
That was very dangerous for both teams there. Pinzo, knowing his jungler was nearby, did look like a bit of a suicide play, but was able to keep the blink as well, which was the main thing. And then the damage from onto Conte from the particle shredder was enough. Noxlit is not done ganking. The Surge Gate is going to be dodged by Lakenator, so that is going to once again keep those blinks up, which is going to give DLAB so much more safety in this Duraside. I am worried. Noxlit has just gone for 2 ganks straight in a row. His left side jungle has been up for at least a minute, especially the 5 and the 2 camp. He really needs to focus back onto farming, especially on the Servrock. He needs those stacks, that HP, that extra damage on his Cypher, because if he falls behind, if he doesn't get to those max stacks around 20-minute mark, he is going to suffer.
I mean, hey, stop sleeping on it. Let him cook on the 5 CS per minute. Maybe there's something. No, jokes aside, I will completely agree with you. Last game was not a fun time for Noxlit because he just didn't have the farm necessary to actually go in and help. He has been so focused on going into dual lane, going into off lane, going into mid lane to try and get an upper hand on one of the lanes. But right now, that's not really what they need on the side of MTG. They need so much more than that. And it's just a classic situation of knowing your macro play and not.
And I think these lanes are a lot more stable for MTG as well. Obviously, this off lane, that assassin, Dr. Flick, because he's the blink away because Lorba is still dealing the damage. But Pinzo, he's got a lot more safety on this Argus. He has a lot more wave clear in this early game. In the dual lane, we have the double range against the melee range of a DLAB. They have the aggression. I am still not completely sure if Mindicap can do anything in this game, but at the very least they are still going, as I think I've had a slight clash.
A little slight stop with the action until it resumed, and that's just Dr. Flick getting a hold on to Lorber onto his own tower with little to no HP left. There's still Conte, and he could fire off a Spear of Nier should he have not, thrown it out already and is on a cooldown. So that should be safety for Dr. Flick to get out. Meanwhile, MTG on the first Fangtooth. As you actually mentioned, Falcon, you wanted them to take an early one, and it seems they listened.
Yeah, it's about the same as the first game, but it's gone over to MTG back this time. But Dr. Flick, he got tower dive. But DLAB, why are you tower diving a Richter? Yes, you had the unstoppable force of the Terror, but he just waited it out. You don't have the damage to burst the Richter in this game at the moment, especially as 2 bruises. Dr. Flick just waited, used the skewer, and then the tower did its work. The buff from it, the extra penetration that these towers do, was enough to get the kill, and now you lost to Fangtooth because of it. And Dr. Flick has the aggression in this off lane, so you can then rotate your dual lane over here. Pinzo is dealing with that dual side as well, so Lakenator and Toasty can't actually get the push either, and then the dual lane of Mindgap can go to the mid lane, pick it up, and there's nothing that DLAB can do about it.
Not right now with their positioning. That means that Noxlit got a hold onto the first mini prime of game 2, which will allow all of the ganks to maybe make more sense. And there was actually a bug on the scoreboard showing that Noxlit was level 1. I know that that is not true. So in that case, he's online. He has the Colossal Blow and a mini prime. So maybe we'll see a potential gank soon.
I'm not 100% sure if he actually got the stack. That would have been a slight misplay from him. Definitely didn't use the hunt. The skewer does come out from Dr. Flick. Lorber keeping on to the unstoppable force. Noxlit is here. Gets the blink out. Colossal blow. This is but the long of the law. While he picks up the kill, Conte and Noxlit still fighting.
Conte going in with the Colosseum to try and stop Noxlet. He has to expend the blink here. Pinto Donso coming in as well to meet up with Abby Picker and Conte here. There is not a lot they can do as Conte is on the full retreat. Of course, there's the Synaptic Obliterator being fired off here, but I don't think it'll be enough, and that's just going to be a reset.
I mean, Handicap is just playing better than game one, and I don't know DLAB. I don't know if they've had some communication issues, but that's already just going ahead for Mining Gap. The aggression isn't there for DLAB. We can still wait for them to reach that 20-minute mark, get that dual lane online, but this zone from Mining Gap is what they need, and if they can keep this aggression up, and then, I mean, I expect very good things. Saying that, Abby Picker finds Dr. Flick, the hat does miss Lorber return into lane. 0 and 2. Ruffy, we might be experiencing a classic Lorber game this game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's where Lorber is kind of feeling it out for the first like 10 to 15 minutes and then turn up the heat once we reach that mid game where everyone is fighting at all times. So maybe that's just a little bit of an unfortunate situation here in game 2, because in game 1 he was literally dominating the offlane. But this time, it seems that there's a little bit more pressure being pushed onto him by Noxlet and the rest of the MTG gang. Here in dual lane, Tanjiro, Kamado, and Margaret. Yeah?
No, just keep going.
Go on. Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Noxlet going in here from the jungle, trying with a Subjugate and a Colossal Blow combo to get a hold on to Legionator. He has to blink out of the way, but the damage is there. The damage has been done. A beautiful flurry of blows is getting connected, but it was not enough to get Legionator. The Thunk is gonna connect from the top ropes. Toasty managing to get a kill for the side of DLAB. The fight has hereby continued with Noxlet trying to burst out of the way and see if he can get a hold on to this support. But the damage is there. The Subjugate is gonna connect though, and with a Particle Shredder, that's gonna be another kill for the side of MTG. Legionator falling as well to Pinso, and in the side we have Conte turning up the heat and say, you know what? Let's turn this around, boys. Abby Picker and of course Conte both having the pressure needed to take down Pinso.
And just like that, DLAB picks up 3 kills. Yes, MTG got 2 back, but that puts DLAB back on the board. Abby Picker picking up 2 of the assists, so it's not too much of a loss. I don't know exactly who got what kill there. We know Toasty got the kill onto Margaret with that Funk auto attack, but that gives again DLAB the chance to breathe. It gives them a chance to look if the second Fang Tooth is also spawning soon. They can now reset, get those items, and get back into the fight. Dr. Flick fighting Laura, misses the Riplass, and I mean, I don't expect either of these to rotate for the second Fang Tooth. It is only the second buff of the game. Expect a 4v4 most likely, with maybe a rotation, but at the moment in time, Dr. Flick is starting to just win this lane.
Yeah, there is an XP advantage by being level 10 contra Lorber's level 9, so that's a good thing for the side of Mind the Gap. Meanwhile, the second Fangtooth has spawned, and will it go into the hands of MTG once again? Not if Conte is going to say anything about it. It's not going to go through, though. He's going to fail that endeavor and has to retreat as the side of DLAB, they're really spread out. Abby Picker could almost get caught by themselves, but they know that the damage is there from DLAB and has to retreat. Pinso Dunzo getting lower and lower. The hat is on top. The Sticky Mine is gonna do its work, and Pinso's so low, he has to get out of there, but can he? The Ventilate is gonna be blocked by the tower, but is it too little too late as the Seek and Destroy is gonna connect? He has to burn the Epoch, but the rest of MTG is ready for the battle. Abby underneath the tower has to burn once again the Epoch, and at the end of the day it's gonna be 1-for-1 in this chaotic team fight.
Is it that Conte is coming back in? Luxlet went the wrong way, fighting a Zarus in the jungle. That is going to be another kill. Toasty trying to use the Fast Bang Broom on to Margaret Robbie, is not going to be able to finish it. Dr. Flick is now fighting, and another long law is going to come through. That's another kill onto the Murdoch. That is 2 for 2 at the end of the day. But whilst that is happening, Ruffy, look at the map, look at Lorber. He may be inting his ass off, but he is taking those towers.
The pressure is definitely there from Lauber. He knew exactly what he needed to do in this case. He knew the team fights were happening somewhere else. So just go in and take a tower. Why not? Pressure it out. Show up and get that XP back up and running. It was a beautiful play right there, as we saw on the replay. But now we are in the present with the Mini Prime getting engaged on by the side of Mind the Gap. They will most likely do the same as they did in game number 1, where they managed to get it for Nuxlet, which is definitely going to happen.
Stop giving it to Nuxlet. He's not doing anything with the mini prime. Please, just give it over to Margaret, who has so many kills. Give him that extra 15% extra stats. Allow him to push into towers. I don't understand why you're giving it to a 7-Rock who is still farming. Please. Anyway, DLAB are taking towers in response. They're going to get that tier 1 tower in the dual lane. Dr. Flick is looking for the one in the off lane, but instead going to be met by Conte.
Angry Falcon noises aside, we do have a little bit of a scuffle happening here in the off-lane. Nuxlet in the jungle trying to keep Conte at bay. And that's just gonna be a little bit of a split fight here. I'm most likely thinking that Pinzo wants to say something about it by going into this lane from the jungle. Of course, not doing a lot so far because they're waiting for that one opportunity to strike. The Ether Crystal does connect and the Particle Shredder will deal the damage. But here's Conte with the Colosseum right on top of Dr. Flick, actually managing to get a stack onto that beautiful Colosseum. So there's a full-on retreat from Mind the Gap as they lost one of their tankiest members.
Yes, just going a bit too aggressive, but the 1v1 in the dual lane, Margaret just walking straight onto Lakenator, allowing him to hit the abilities. The blink is available from both sides, but the auto attacks are those dangerous from either side. The Blast Flower is going to be used. Margaret Robbie using the corner to the best effect. The auto attacks coming through, the blink followed. Margaret Robbie going back to his side, has got Tanjiro carrying back over. The Longo Law is used, but there was not enough damage. You are only level 10. If he had the rank 2, that might have been possible, but instead both ADCs are going to back off, going to reset, and the excitement ends for the moment.
Okay, so we're sitting at around 18 minutes into the game, almost in half a minute, and it's 6-6 Falcon. So I just gotta pick your brain a bit on a possible situation. What is the best options available for what kind of objective would you go for if you were on either side? What is the priorities here?
Right now, the priority is making sure you're not picked before the third Fang Tooth. That is going to be the big team fight. MTG really wants it. DLAB needs to make sure it is not secured by them. Towers can be taken at a later date, especially that one in the solo lane. That can be taken at any time, but they're not a big issue. However, the 2v2 is coming through. MTG got the first rotation.
Oh, Margaret Robbie, Professor McGonagall, no, it cannot happen. There it goes. Lakenator will get it with a beautiful Vaporize there, taking care of matters here. And with that beautiful Tesla Dome in the jungle, Pinzo Donzo had no escape. Tanjiro and Nuxlet knows that this is way too little too late to do anything about. And that opens up the field for DLAB to actually take a free Fangtooth.
I really hope Nuxlet doesn't walk forward here. He needs to make sure he stays alive, because if he does die here, they can be even more taken. He walks in, there is no hate. Why? Why are you doing that, Nuxlet? There is no chance you steal that in the first place with a Spear of Deer plus the Slay. That does an extra death on to the Mind the Gap at the moment. That's should allow that mid tower to be taken because there is no protection. Argus only just respawn from Pinzo. Dr. Flick does take the tier 1 tower in the solo side, but DLAB, they're just starting to run away with this game now.
Oh, I can feel your anger from here. It is wonderful. But however, that is just going to be a really weird decision from the side of Mind the Gap, with Nuxlet saying, I can handle this, don't worry about it, I'm tanky. I have 5 CS per minute, remember that. So I can survive this battle 1v4. But with this pressure going on right now, it seems to get more and more in favor of DLAB as they are just staying competitive and consistent.
Yeah, and they've also got the farm lead once again. It was about 90 last time I saw the scoreboard. It's probably around the same at this point in time. Mainly, well, I'm not saying mainly, it's basically on every single member of DLAB's team. Just about 20 CS here, 20 CS there. And I just want to go back to the point because I don't want to be too harsh. I can see why Noxley would go for it. It is the third Fangtooth. There is no Orb Prime to actually come up. I, again, don't agree with it, but I can see why he would go for it in the first place. However, saying that now, the Orb Prime is up. And once again, the solo laners are fighting. Oh,
of course. It's like, you know, I didn't hear no bell, and they just keep punching each other until they're like black and blue. But not a lot is happening aside from that fight club going on. Mid lane, going down for the side of MTG. They do not have their tier 1 mid right now. And the Orb Prime, as you mentioned, has spawned Falcon, which means that there is a big opportunity to actually go for it with multiple members of DLAB ready for the bout.
And MTG need to be so careful. They haven't got Lakenator over here at the moment in time, so there's no threat from DLAB of actually taking this seriously for the moment. And MTG, all they need to do is just make sure they aren't picked, get those wards out when they can, make sure those side lanes are pushed. You can see Margaret going over there now. And speaking of getting picked, Noxley is caught by the Tester Gate. Subject is going to come through the Tester Dome. Is used by Abby Picker. That is a pretty long cooldown for nothing in return, really. No blink or ultimate used by Noxley. He is going to reset, so that gives a chance for DLAB to do something if they risked, but once again, Lakenator is not there. That is your main damage source onto this Orb Prime from the side of DLAB. So they're going to all reset by the items, and we can see Lorbat actually going over to the solo side. That's probably the best idea for them at this moment in time. That allows Lakenator to go on to this dual side. That gives an actual threat towards this Orb Prime, and we've got to remember, Toasty is playing Narbass, and that is one of the best supports for this Orb Prime. It keeps your team nice and healthy from the AoE and the damage. So even though it might be slightly slow, they can just poke it through, force MTG to at least check it, and then immediately back off.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation for MTG. They cannot allow themselves to lose this Orb Prime, but they can also not allow themselves to get caught out. So they're keeping their distance, and now that they know the positions are in order, they're gonna engage onto this Orb Prime. They are starting it. They're taking this risk. They're taking this chance, and this can very well be a 5v4, actually a 5v3 going on here as Lakenator engages. The skewer is gonna connect onto 2 members, Conte, and of course, the damage is there. They're actually getting this Orb Prime in the middle of the fight. Flick actually falls in battle. And that's a very horrible situation. They've lost 2 buffs in what is the matter of a second. Margaret Robbie dying as well. They lost 3 buffs inside of the Orb Prime pit. Mind the gap. You should mind your own gap right now.
They lost 3, but they gained 2. If they can stay alive, then it's a chance. If they can keep these inhibitors alive, then they have a chance. Pinzo is alive, so they have the wave clear. The primal Fangtooth is not up. That is totally worth for Mind the Gap, and now they can actually hold this. They probably will lose the tier 1 tower in that solo side. They might lose the tier 1 tower or the tier 2 tower in the duo side as well, and they are going to lose quite a bit of the jungle. But the main point is they have the Orb Prime buff on 2 members. The Primal Fangtooth is spawning in about 30 seconds time, and all 5 members are going to be alive for it.
Yeah, that's a dangerous one. If Mind the Gap gets it, they will have so much more power and sustain throughout the later stages of this map. So essentially, DLAB is forced to be here and take this Fangtooth before it's too late. Meanwhile, multiple members of MTG are ready for the bout, already positioned, placing down their vision, getting ready for a little bit of a tuffle. But so far, so good. There is not a lot of position available for DLAB here.
Not many wards either. There's none in the pit. So Mind the Gap have a pretty good control of this area. Not let it complete in darkness for MTG. Conte now just seen him. Is going to try and maybe look for the Subject Gate completely whiffing, and the stun does come through. They are going to give up the Whiplash.
there is someone that doesn't miss, and that is Dr. Flick with a Whiplash Skewer combo. The Tesla Dome right on top is going to be a big problem, but Flick blinks out of the way, tries to keep his distance. He actually survives so far, keeping a good momentum on their side. Now they have to be very careful, because Conte is known to be very aggressive once the fight starts. So they have to retreat. They cannot stay. Why is Nuxlet staying there? He's up against a giant in Conte. They cannot stay here for any longer. Why do they try to take this fight to them? Pinzo is getting hunted down by Lauber, doing the Wild Rush combo together with the Ruthless Assault, and that's more than enough to take it down. They have so many members available, and they could easily go for this tier 2 right now, unless Happy Picker gets caught in the net.
I think this is a bit too aggressive. I think there's going to be a pick. Dr. Flick is going to get a catch, but Conte just runs him down. Noslid is under half HP. The healing from Toasty is keeping everyone on DLAB alive. That is just 3 members of Minecraft being taken down. Later is back alive. He is on the pit. He has started that up. That entire fight, it was Toasty. It was the Narbas that was keeping the HP bars up. It was keeping the movement speed up. It allowed DLAB to run the members of Mind the Gap down. Tanjiro is here. Margaret has already left. This is going to be a secure of the Primal Factory for DLAB. And another kill. Tanjiro is going to be able to blink up across the wall to keep himself alive for the moment. Argus is also alive. Pinzo is going to return. Lorber looking for anything he can do. And now DLAB, they're in the driving seat. They have that damage. They have the true damage dot on all of 5 members, as well as the extra out of movement speed. And I mean, this is starting to look similar to game 1.
Yeah, also when it comes to CS, but that's a discussion for another time, because we have already talked about this to death. It's a problem. Noxlet at 26 minutes in game has 101 last hits, so you know that's kind of unfortunate when you look at Conte that is like close to 200. So that's actually worse. Oh no, I should not have mentioned that, but I did anyways, because I like pulling people under the bus, because that's how I am as a caster apparently. But but in this very case, it's very, very grim for the side of MTG.
It's not in a good place. I'm trying to see what shoulders Noxlet has. It's definitely not max rank. That is for sure. But now we got the push coming in from DLAB. They have 2 lanes push in solo lane with Lorber, 4 members of the rest of DLAB in that mid lane. They just need to wait for the minions. At least a blessing from Mind the Gap. There's no all prime to be taken for the side of DLAB, so these minions are going to be relatively easy to kill. But one misstep, one movement too far forward, and they are going to be caught. They are going to be killed. And now Lorber has the pressure in the solo side. It's going to force 2 members of Mind the Gap to go over there for the moment. That is going to leave this tower exposed.
And it is opened up with a Colosseum, but answered with a Colossal Blow. Oh my god, the Colossal Blow saves the day. Nuxlet doing work, but Abby Picker had a hat on top of him, making sure that that will be another fallen comrade for the side of MTG. They lost their tier 2 in mid. They've lost their tier 2 in the off lane. They almost got their inhibitor pressured up against them. So they just have to defend right now, while DLAB has the perfect opportunity for an all-prime.
And Noxlet is the one that died. That's the jungler. That is the one that could go for the potential steal. This is where you would go for that Hail Mary play. But with that jungler dead for another 15 seconds, MTG, they need to do something here. I don't know what, but good luck to them.
Well, you could say that MTG is feeling very toasty right now, as the heat is shaping up to be a big problem for them. There is so much damage from Lauber here in the corner, while the Orb Primal falls to DLAB. And that just makes sure that this is easy pickings. Even though there's a skewer, it's too little too late to try and save this situation. A hat is on top of Tanjiro Kamado. He has to get out of the way, but can he? With the power of the rocket boots, it's not going to be enough, even with defense. Because they're very offended by that. They're offended. They do not like you trying to escape. So how about a stagger, fine boy?
Yeah, that will work. Pinzo is running towards the enemy space. That is probably not going to be where he wants it. Lorba is just going to wait for the Epoch to run out, put the spray down for disrespect. The Ether Crystal is going to keep Pinzo alive for a little bit longer, but with the help of the minions, Lorba eventually kills the Dwarf, and the rest of DLAB are pushing down the mid lane.
That is the biggest stagger I have seen in PCC history. A very unfortunate situation for Mind the Gap, but this is proven to be the truth. DLAB, once again, as always, will reach the semifinals of PCC with PCC9.
And, I mean, the game looked close. The game was so good for Mind the Gap for the first 15 minutes. But once again, the farm difference, and that is what, 120, 140 CS more for DLAB at this stage of the game in 30 minutes. And it just becomes a problem of, once you get enough farm, the items will come in, the experience will come in, and then it doesn't matter how many kills MTG has. It doesn't matter how many Fangtooths they have. DLAB can just play better. They can play those team fights so much more cohesively, and then they just win the game.
And that's just the end of that. Mind the Gap could not mind their own gap and ended up falling in battle. But that is everything from me for this PCC, and the end of this set between me and Fralken. So we're just gonna go and send it back to keep it on the D low, take a chance with Lance, and F6 is so powerful he doesn't need a 7.
Thank you very much there, Sans, Liesel, and Fralken for your casting talents, guys. DLAB, take it. If you ever wanted to see a Barbie movie that wasn't a nice little comedy that actually ended up being a horror film, you just gotta see it here. Talked me through that game too. What the heck happened?
I mean, same thing, game number one. MTG kind of had control of the earlier parts of the game to the mid, and then they kind of just got Narbash stiffed. Narbash came in, started healing people throughout these fights. MTG wasn't able to kill fast enough, and the engagements went on too long, and then just kind of took over the map.
Lobber things, baby. We saw it straight from level 1. He gets onto Dr. Flick early. Flick's got to sacrifice the first 4-ish minutes of the game in order to try to get even and take some of the kill pressure off of himself that allows Lobber to do things like Lobber likes to do. Get tanky, get engagey, get in onto the backline. They controlled the objectives from start to finish in that game. Conte was playing incredibly well. At one point was 6-1. Had to have ended up with a better KDA than that, because that was well before the Orb Prime and the Primal Fangtooth had fallen. Big performance out of Conte. That's why DLAB picked him up.
Yeah, absolutely, and instantly were validated for their choice in that roster. I mean, just beautiful play all around. It's the synergy we expect. A lot of these members, we talked about it in PCC8, they've been together for so long, and when you're just lockstep like that, it really just shows on the field of battle. So we're going into our next matchup soon here, guys, but for the semifinalists of tomorrow, the ones who will be stepping up against our friends on DLAB, what's your word of advice, your word of warning to their next opponent?
Stand behind your word. I mean, if you think you're going to be able to beat them, you know. But one of the biggest things they have to look towards is Lobber. Lobber controls a lot of DLAB's games. I mean, he went 0-2 in the first like 5-6 minutes, but the rest of that match he was just getting assist after assist. He was just being able to create a lot of distance between Mind the Gap, and he's going to be able to do that between a lot of teams. He does it all the time, and they're going to have to control that.
Listen, DLAB's going to face the winner of Rest and Relaxation or Doctors. If Doctors wins that set, we have a rematch of PCC8 finals in a semifinal, which is, but Doctors were able to win that, so prove it wasn't a fluke is what I would say to them.
You have to find out if it's actually going to be the Doctors stepping up against them. So everyone, make sure to get your insurance in order. We got a checkup coming at you soon. After the break, more PCC9 coming at you in just a bit.